Hello everyone, and welcome to Zest to Zen with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today it's an absolute honor to welcome my guest, Jennifer C. Parker. She is an author, therapist, and advocate for emotional resilience and empowerment. Through her lived experience and years of supporting others in their healing journeys, she invites us into a courageous conversation about reclaiming our voice, dismantling harmful narratives, and redefining what healthy relationships truly look like. I believe this episode will open the doors to truth, compassion, and the quiet power of boundaries, and maybe ask us the question of what becomes possible when we stop silencing ourselves and start really listening, particularly within. And if you feel called, I invite you to share a little love by subscribing to help amplify voices like Jennifer's. It costs absolutely nothing, yet allows this wisdom to reach many more hearts. Thank you if you have already, and may this episode bring you clarity, courage, and gentle empowerment, or just general empowerment if that's what you're feeling. Really connect to that fire. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here, way across the pond, as you guys say, or at least
Yes, way across the pond.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, but isn't that the beauty of Zoom and on all these incredible platforms that we have? Because no longer do we have to, go to these events. Of course, in person, it's really beautiful as well, but we can just connect. And I think there's so much power in that. So you're very welcome, and thank you for being my guest today. I feel like there's so many different things that I'm curious to ask you, but to start with, I always just love, because I feel like there always is like either a turning point or multiple turning points, or a reason why we feel that drive to do what we do. So I would just love anything that comes to your mind that you feel like the viewers would really benefit from hearing. Where did this passion, if you want to call it passion, or where did it spark from? Where did it ignite from?
Well, I love that you start your podcast that way, because the work that I used to do, I'm not a therapist currently, but that I teach therapists to do, is the story is so important. People's story, and when it comes to intimate partner abuse, frequently, mostly they're not telling their own stories, or they don't know their own story. It's been imposed upon them. So it goes way back, really, that I'll just be very brief about it. I grew up at a time in the state of Kentucky in the United States where we hadn't made as much progress in terms of women's rights and women, how we look at women and so forth. Not that it's a perfect story now, but we have made some gains. And so I grew up in a family where domination by the males was seen as their right, and it wasn't always a pretty picture. So, and also I grew up in a family where physical abuse was used as discipline for children. So that doesn't help one's self-esteem. No. And particularly when you see your mother being treated a certain way, that what I didn't realize until later is that how much that you internalize those kinds of things, even when you resist it, because I did, how much you internalize and how much that affects your life. So fast forward, I married at a young age. I didn't realize some of the ways in which I had internalized my response to my husband. And we were married for 11 years. I had 2 young children. And he decided to rewrite history and decided that he had an affair. And so he betrayed. That's one of the forms of betrayal. I feel like intimate partner abuse is always a betrayal for people, because you don't expect to be harmed by your partner, whether that's emotionally or physically. So I was going through this crisis, and was mostly a stay-at-home mother. I was working kind of part-time, not really in a career at that point. And so I needed to get myself into a position where I could more take care of myself and my children.
Yeah.
And I knew someone in the university that was there who was in the social work department, and she arranged for me to do, I had a psychology degree, but I hadn't really done anything with it. So she arranged for me to do a practicum through the social work department. Well, I was sent to what was called then a battered women's shelter, an intimate partner abuse shelter. And when I went there, I thought, I don't know anything about this. Well, I did know something about that. Yeah. We just didn't call it abuse back then. So what I realized is that even though I hadn't been through physical abuse in my relationship, I realized the domination was really behind that, the permission to dominate that some people feel that they have. And so that really was part of my wake-up call. I was doing a lot of growing then. And, that's what happens when we go through crises, is they are also opportunities to grow. So I really began working on my self-esteem. And when I decided to become a therapist, I decided that I wanted to also specialize in working with people who experience trauma of all kinds, but also particularly the trauma of intimate partner abuse, because I'd received some training and had some knowledge about that. So when I went to university, I got a master's degree in social work, and I had that specialty.
Wow.
And as I worked with people, well, first of all, I always saw from my earlier experience at the shelter, I saw that it was more than just a personal issue, that it was something that begins with a cultural backdrop that permits domination. And that kind of seeps into, all institutions in our culture, or it can, even those with religion. Not to say that it's always there, but each type of religion, whether it's Buddhist or Christian or Jewish or whatever, has its own episodes or periods of time or ways in which domination is kind of seeped in. And what do I mean by domination? I mean, first of all, you believe that power is finite, so therefore you have to protect it rather than it being infinite. And all of us having our own individual internal power and being able to share power with people. And it means that, therefore, the concept of power is, if you have power, then it's power over. They don't see it as being power within or power being able to share it. And it's also that differences are very threatening. So if you don't agree with me, that somehow that threatens, or if you succeed, then maybe somehow that makes me feel more insecure. And I think we've all kind of felt those kinds of things at times.
Yeah.
So it's a thread. But then the final thing that all those things kind of point to is that some people are more worthy than others.
Yeah.
And so that expresses throughout our culture in things, not just intimate partner abuse, but also in racism, religious intolerance, in our politics. And, certainly I could name some ways in which it's showing up in American politics today, but I won't go into that. That's, it can be there. There's also another thread, and I studied, I read a lot about Riane Eisler's work. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's an older woman who, throughout her career, asked the questions, why is there so much violence in our society? Because she was from a Jewish family, and they narrowly escaped the Holocaust. They left Germany just in time. So she had the passion for that. And so I saw how what she was uncovering really helped to explain the question that everybody asks, why do they want to hurt me when they supposedly love me? And so that really fed into, and what I wanted to say about that is, so there's the domination belief system. There's also one that she calls partnership belief system. And that really explains the tension. There's a tension between those two, because if you look at all religions, they're really more of a partnership belief system. They in terms of having respect, believing that everybody has their own power and worth and dignity, and being able to share and respect one another, even if we have differences, and being able to talk about them. So that was a long story, but that's what really drove my work in terms of working with intimate partner abuse, and just my approach to therapy in general, whether they came to me for depression or anxiety, really respecting where they were and trying to empower them in whatever ways it was appropriate for them.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And first of all, I just really want to acknowledge, I know you said like, oh, I'm just going to quickly cover over it, but as we know, and I actually really want to show some honor and respect to you for it, because and I would love your take on this, but I think often there's different layers of this that are just coming through right now. So first of all, what I've noticed a lot of is, first of all, we don't know any different when we are younger. So it's more when we start growing up, or we do safeguarding courses, or we go into different areas. So even with me, like doing teaching, I remember when safeguarding used to come around every year, and it really affected me a lot. And again, it's like often you're sat there and then you're like, you have that because you only know what you know, and you just assume that everything is like that. So that was one thing that came up. So I really appreciate you recognizing that. And then there's often the other, where people will pretend it never happened, they will suppress it, and they will not want to open that door, that locked door again. Whereas it really takes, I believe, a really strong person to want to go back into that, because we have the memories, we have the thoughts, we have the feelings, no matter how much we heal, and be like, no, I'm going to do something about this, and this stops. And so first of all, I really want to really praise you. Well, not praise sounds wrong, but really show a lot of respect to you for that, because it's not easy, and it's a permanent reminder in training, in meeting people, in constantly aspects of your work. So first of all, it's incredible what you are doing, and yeah, there's so much in that, isn't there? And yeah.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're recognizing that, and that's a really important aspect of therapy too, because people who come, whatever struggles they're going through, they often blame themselves, and that certainly happens with survivors of partner abuse, because, well, first of all, it's a real strength to be able to look at yourself and think, well, this isn't going well, what is my part in this? However, that strength is used against you when someone intentionally is being oppressive, being coercive. And so it's so important to recognize and to help people with that, and for them not to feel bad about themselves. Because it is, I love that you said, what was it? You know what you know. And my phrase that I often use was, you can't know what you don't know. It's very similar.
Yes.
And to remind them that you didn't enter this marriage knowing this is what was going to happen, or this relationship, knowing that this was going to happen. And so, yeah.
And I'd love your take on this, but I think also, obviously when we are younger and we are in situations where it is kind of out of our control, and you go into survival mode, and you just have to do what you need to do as a child just to get through each day or whatever. And then I feel like, and it doesn't mean it for everyone, but you've then got that familiar, I can't speak, you're familiarized with it. So without then you knowing, when I think you can go two ways, where then you really want to, you seem to recognize certain people and archetypes, and then you want to rescue them, you want to help them, and you don't want other people to experience that. And I think sometimes we lose the understanding that that doesn't mean being with them. That and again, there's no pointing out, there's pointing in as well. But I think, you know, that maybe that calm, peaceful, loving person is like, oh, that if anything is too scary, because oh, that's not predictable, what's going to happen? Whereas the other one that just shows everything is everything you kind of know and remember. Oh yeah, this person, but I'll show them love, I want to show them love, and they'll know what love feels like. And I think not everyone, but often we go through that, and then maybe then people stay longer than they need to because things happen like children. Whereas I think it takes, I felt that the moment then you really sit with yourself, and you so beautifully said it. It's easy to point, but we put ourselves sometimes in those situations, and yeah, we created the archetype, if you like, of savior when no one asked to be saved. So I think again, there's no blame or anything. We're all on our own paths and our journeys, but I think it's really beautiful that you also recognize that, you know, some people are looking but they're not seeing. They're really not seeing, and there is the kind of rose-tinted glasses, or like we say, you feel the soul of that person and know there's good in them because they showed you little bits of good, and you're holding on to that, when you have to stop and you have to really be like, no, right now I'm an adult. Is this how I see my life going forward, and is this the reality that I want? And then we ultimately, with support, need to take action to change it, because the person is the only one that can pull back that power and that belief in themselves again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so right. So many times we fall into the trap, people can fall into the trap because it's so hard to believe. Yeah. Okay? When people ask, why don't they leave? It's a lot more complicated. It's really complicated. And by the way, leaving can be the most dangerous time, even if you've only had an emotional.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's so the other thing. Yeah.
And part of that is that there usually are good parts to the relationship. They've seen good things. Yeah. They were attracted to it. But then there's this other thing. And so we want to believe that, we want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, that's a healthy thing. I think
we mourn. We want that version again. Oh no, but I know that you have it. You've showed me already. Even if it was a snippet, we hold on to that instead of the the whole package.
Yeah. So it's important to weigh both of those. Yes, that person can be this, but they're also this.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes they show that good side of them more when they maybe are afraid you're going to pull away from them, or, you know, that you're getting fed up or something like that. That also happens. Yeah. But there are many traps that really have to do with, it's so hard to believe that someone would harm you when you've experienced this love. It's hard to leave any relationship, right? I mean, you go back and forth a lot about it, but it's really more complicated with if there's abuse going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But whether there's abuse or not, it is true that we fall into patterns that we grew up with and without realizing. And so part of our growing, which hopefully we keep growing, is that we begin to realize what's not serving us well.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes you know, we don't want people to repeat and go through the same patterns, but I think sometimes, again, like what you say, when you really stop and you reflect on it, which is usually afterwards, it's because you maybe went with that person because you didn't see your own value, you didn't see your own worth, and that person then, you know, that was an easier option, but obviously it wasn't, because the other person maybe that showed you that other side of life, one, you maybe didn't feel worthy of them, and two, you knew that that person, if that ended, that would really break your heart. And I think then you can kind of almost have the, oh, I knew that person would do that. It's that safety mechanism that's not safe actually at all. It's actually one of, and I think that's why sometimes, and this is something I did, and it's not saying that this works for everyone, but I had to take quite a long period of time out of even just dating anyone to really look at myself and really look at the patterns in my life and say, okay, right, they may have looked different, but there were patterns, and I was essentially seeking the same kind of person in characteristics and things. So who do we blame for that? Because I'm the one picking. And again, it's not saying that anyone, I want to really emphasize that is going through something in their life. It's 100% not saying that you invited this into your life. I'm just speaking about my own personal experience. But that was what I realized, that I was never going for what I actually really wanted, because that scared me more. And so, I had to really learn to love myself and know that I'm worthy and respectful of a beautiful relationship, and that I don't have to just go for what is presented to me. I can wait or go for what I want, because I am worthy of that. And I think that's really important.
I really want to recognize that was, you sharing your journey. And rather than, personally, I would use, once you begin to know things that you didn't know before, then you can take responsibility. And I like using that word rather than blame, because it's like, blame doesn't help any of us. It says, It was what it was. This is what I knew. This is what happened. Now I know more, and I can do better, or I can do more.
And that's the thing, we can't judge that version of ourselves, can we? That version, we can stand here now at this version and say, oh, but you weren't that version. And she was just navigating what she could navigate.
Interestingly enough, I have a calendar that someone gave me that's like a Zen calendar, and the theme for today speaks to this. There is no connection between I, myself, yesterday, and I, myself, in this moment.
Oh,
so it kind of
I
speaks
love
to that growth. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing, isn't it? Like, of course, there's people still in these situations, and I'm sure you very much are in connection with lots of sometimes heartbreaking things that people are navigating. But essentially, every day is a new day, and you have the opportunity to really think, okay, do you know what? Today, what am I going to do today about it? Because I think, again, we can get stuck in these cycles, these spirals, these loops, these patterns. And there's also, I believe as well, a little bit sometimes of, the pressure of being single, and then, and then you again, because of the time frame, go after something again. And I just think, no, just focus on you, what you enjoy, what you love. Don't play into all this ageism and all this stuff, and just know that the more you pour into yourself, the more love you give yourself, the more in alignment you become with all that you're creating or doing, you will naturally attract that back in relationships, in collaborations, in all different aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you will, from what you've learned, you'll learn to you will recognize and want to investigate a little bit more, or else just turn away from signs that you see, like red flag sorts of things. Like,
Yeah. And I think also, and I promise you, I'm not laughing in that sense, like, because it's easier to reflect back on it, but I feel like sometimes it's almost like a game life, because you go, like this, the red flag, okay, no, again, and it will come another way, and then it will come another way, and it's not always so, like, straight away this, that, and the other. You know, it'll be subtle and little and picky or something. And again, you know, it all is a two-way thing, because if you're giggling at something that you know actually is something that you don't find funny, you're kind of encouraging a behavior as well. So we always need to reflect on kind of, yeah, the types of things we are allowing, I think. You can still...
I think it's important. I'm sorry.
No, please, yeah.
I think it's important to recognize whether or not you feel like you can be yourself with someone.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like that's okay, that's a time to question. You know, if you don't feel like you can say to someone, you know, this or that really bothered me, or I'm not okay with this language or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's a red flag. You know,
yeah.
Pay attention.
And I think even these subtle jokes sometimes, I think we need to be more mindful of how do we feel once that's been said, because, you know, like, oh, stop being so sensitive, or this, but it doesn't mean that you're too sensitive. It doesn't mean that you can't take a joke. It just means there's maybe not compatibility. And again, it's not a reflection that that's a bad person or you're the bad person. No one is. It's just there's not that compatibility. And so even because I remember when I was younger, I used to giggle at things like that. But actually, I realized in time that wasn't a good thing to do, because it was showing me a really powerful insight that I was missing, because I was rose tinted and giggling, and, you know, whereas actually then I feel like people show you their true colors, and you show your true colors, and you have so many different indicators right at the start, and it's nothing to do with someone being bad or someone not being good person. It's just you're not compatible, that's all.
It's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, we need to recognize, we need to believe them when they show us what they show us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we make excuses, or, you know, sort of dismiss. Like I said, giving people the benefit of the doubt can be a strength, but it can also be just ignoring what's right there in front of your face.
Yes.
So you need to question yourself about that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty. We're all different.
Pardon?
And I think that's the beauty. We're all different. What works in one relationship, you know, some people love that banter, that sarcasm, that really picking at each other. They love that playfulness. But someone else, that could, over time, when we talk about emotional, it doesn't mean that person was being emotionally abusive. It's just for that particular personality. Actually, over time, if they don't have that empowerment inside of them, or they haven't realize their value and worth, and having these joking affirmations said to them continuously, if they start to believe them, it's all a two-way thing if you're going to believe that person. Whereas, you know, if you know and you have that banter and that joke, that's healthy, but it's all about what are you taking in and how are you really feeling about it. And I think that's, again, we can only go internal and know that truth.
And of course, that then takes a strong self-esteem, and that's why we want to make sure that we believe in ourselves and feel worthy. Because otherwise, fear that, well, then that person's going to leave me might creep in. And that's a way in which we silence ourselves, if we're afraid to be who we are, because that person's not going to like it, and maybe they're going to leave us.
But I'm sure I would love your opinion on this. But when we reflect on that, that's actually not about the other person. That's believing that we can't have someone else. That goes back to us again, isn't it? Because we're holding on to something slippery, but it should never be slippery. If it's a solid foundation, then we shouldn't be grasping and modifying ourselves in order to keep something that we feel is about to be taken. So again, we've got to own that and know that we're creating that. The other person might not even be thinking that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. So having believing that you have the right to stand up and be yourself, say what's true for you in a way that it doesn't put the other person down necessarily. But if there is something coercive or something like that, naming it, not being afraid to name that.
Yeah. But that's conscious
early
communication, isn't it? Isn't that, would you say conscious communication, Jennifer? Which I think even I, you know, lots of us, we could work on that big time, because again, if we're like what you say, skirting around the edge in all aspects, not just romantic, because we don't want to upset that friend, or we don't want to upset that employee, or we don't want to, then again, there's something on a larger level of feeling like it's going to be taken. So I feel like sometimes we stay longer in things because we've done that, whereas if we just owned it and we spoke our truth, the truth always comes out eventually anyway. So I think it shows it, doesn't it? If that relationship or that friendship fails because you spoke your truth, and again, not in a way that upsets the other, but just, this is how I'm feeling right now. If that relationship then deteriorates from it, that says a lot about that relationship. And that, again, is not easy it's not an easy pill to swallow, but it's the truth.
And that's a growing experience for people. Being able to early in a relationship show up as who you are and being able to express yourself. And if you can't, then that's a sign that maybe that relationship shouldn't go any further.
Absolutely. As I said, I love all that you're doing, and as you shared about being a grandmother, I would just love, I think, because we can be in our you know, our element right now, but essentially we really want to create this really strong empowerment for generations to come. You know, we don't just want to be in the here and now. So I would just love how to know how, like, becoming a grandma has like shaped you, and how you kind of just, you know, feed that in a little bit to your beautiful grandchildren.
Well, first of all, I'm just really proud of my two children. I have a daughter and a son, and the kinds of parents that they've been. And, you know, I see them being a better parent than I think I was. Not that I was terrible, but, you know.
I think that's what we always
want,
though, don't
we grow.
We?
So I feel like I can be the better grandparent. But I'm lucky enough to have 4 grandsons. We have a 5th now on the way. Maybe it'll be a granddaughter, but who knows? But I really love how they're being brought up in ways that are more that partnership values, being respectful, being encouraged to be who they are, you know, and they're very different people. They start to express themselves, and not always in pleasant ways, but, you know, getting the kind of direction and guidance that helps them to grow up and be responsible. So they're 13 is the oldest, and then there's an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Beautiful.
So
and then a new Baba coming. Congratulations. And then a new Baba. Congratulations.
And my work, I feel like, is not only to empower people who are in relationships that are coercive, that are harmful to them, but also to spread the word that really that is a part of oppression that happens in our society in other ways, and that it really doesn't bode well for us. It doesn't work really well for us. It leads to, you know, nations. It's like wars. That's danger. But, you know, in terms of relationships, So my work, the book that I wrote is for intimate partner abuse survivors, but also for those who want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they know somebody, they want to understand better. But later chapters in my book talk about how domination belief system turns up in religion, in politics, in friendships, in families, and so forth, so that they see that this is a bigger problem, really.
Yes. Yeah.
And not that all men, not all women, it happens in same-sex relationships as well, that they take on this domination belief system, but it influences some people to do that, and kind of gives them more permission, so to speak. And so I think as we really work toward a healthier culture in general, that is the solution to having less intimate partners.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that, because particularly the Zest Zen panel series that I introduced really is about kind of this, the backbone of it, of conscious leadership, like what does more heart-centered approaches look like, again, what's empowerment in relationships, all the beautiful stuff that you're talking about, and like what you said, someone operating a certain way in a relationship, that doesn't mean that they modify for this setting and then this person and this person. Okay, there might be people that do that, but they're very aware of what they're doing now. But I think often a lot of us, and I think we've really got to be careful with this labeling as well of wounded and all this, because essentially we're all on our own journeys, we're all at different stages, and there'll be a time where I would have been labeled as that or something, but I only knew what I knew, so I only performed at the capacity at that time of what I thought was how you behaved in a relationship, how you spoke to people, or how you treated people, and so I think as much as possible, like, yes, we do need to see what we can really see in front of us, but we also need to believe of the highest good in others, and that, I've been on my journey. I've really worked hard on my, not only mindset, but my relationships and things that I want to attract into my life. And so who am I to judge if I've gone on a journey myself? That anyone at any point can do that, and even so at the moment, I can't remember his name properly, but there's a guy at the moment who, I hate the word trending, but it kind of is trending on social media. He went to prison and he did some really horrific things. So in this, that would suggest that he's a bad person, and he should now, why change his life? He's done so much badness, but he's come to a point in his life where he spent all those years in prison. Really, he just happened to go to the Bible, really reading the Bible, really reflecting on his life, and he's completely now, going out, doing motivational speaking, even going back into prisons, because again, he can go in there and, he's not then just saying, oh, hi, I'm here today to empower you. Not saying that doesn't work, but he's saying, listen, I had that lifestyle, and he's now using it for the good of the world. And I think that's why, yes, we should see the person as they are in that moment, but equally always believe that they have the power at any point to change their life and become a better person. And I think conscious communication is a key thing for that, because when they then lose, say, someone or something they really value, sometimes that's when the transformation happens and people level up.
True. Just like, for me, when I went through a crisis, I really leveled up, as you put it. And yeah, that really speaks to really believing everybody has intrinsic worth.
Yeah.
Even when you don't like what they're doing, even when they aren't expressing that worth in ways that I would believe would be healthy, but they have that. And so separating them from their behavior, they do these bad things, not that they are bad.
Yeah.
But they, generally speaking, they feel insecure. And this isn't to excuse any of their behavior.
No.
But it's like the bad behavior or their oppression of other people, it comes from an insecurity inside of themselves.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, too many people don't want to look at that, but I'm glad that particular person is, and he's making a difference. It's like, I think that's what should be all of our mission, is to take whatever it is that take our learning and just put that out in the world in terms of making it a better place.
Yeah.
And we do that individually. Most of us don't do that, as leaders of countries or something. But yeah.
But that is the thing. Essentially, we do have these government things, not going into all that, but essentially we are the majority. We are the majority, and the more because that's the other thing, is sometimes we're led to believe we're doing our little contribution. No, every little spark of light or love or empowerment slowly awakens even more. And that's what we need to really hold on to. Everything you're doing, every word you're saying, every action you're taking has a generational impact. Whether you are, speaking to someone in your profession, you never know the impact you have on that person when they leave that conversation, that exchange with you, or even watching a podcast, even reading an article. There's so much that you don't know is being received, and how much you could be changing someone's life just through your own truth and your own words, and being vulnerable and courageous, and just I think it's really important that we should never take lightly our contribution that we are creating, and believe in ourselves more and more.
I love what you're saying, because I've often emphasized for survivors that their healing work, it's tough, when you work on healing, looking at yourself, but also healing from what has been done to you. But that healing work is so important, because that they take that into the rest of their lives, and they have an impact, particularly if they have children, that's shifting that culture for them. And, even if you don't have complete control over what the children hear and do, because unfortunately sometimes that happens, that it's the other person isn't. But still, you are that example and that model for those.
Absolutely. And I think, just really be aligned with your words and your actions, because you can say as much as possible. And this was a big learning curve in teaching. Like, I never had grey. I always had black, and I had white, because the moment you went into the grey, the children lost the boundary. They kind of lost that respect. If you're going to say, I will ring your mummy if you ring that mummy, and it sounds so little, but it's in all elements of our life. We really need to not say things just to control. We should say things because that is what we truly mean, and then follow through, because again, in all aspects of our life, that's what creates these solid foundations and respect. And these little children, they're maybe not told, but they've learned a lot from that. She says that, but she doesn't do it, and they learn a lot from seeing. But again, have grace, be kind to yourself, and know that, again, we're all just on our own journeys. Nothing's ever that's it, final. Everything is always unfolding. So Jennifer,
it's a process, and it's good.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. I can't even believe how quick the time has gone. I feel like we've not even been speaking that long. I really appreciate all you're doing, and of course, if there's anything you would like to share with the listeners right now that you have, that they can reach out and contact you for, like, don't worry about saying all your details. I'll put all them in the show notes, but feel free to share anything you want to share about your beautiful books and all the things you've created and still are doing.
Well, I really appreciate being on your podcast, and I appreciate your enthusiasm. I do include some links for those people because it happens so much, I know that some percentage of people have experienced intimate partner abuse and maybe are still working on their healing. So there is my book, and there's actually a sale on it, but also I have 2 free gifts for anybody who's interested. One of them is the Coercive Control Checklist, which I wrote as it's part of the book, but it kind of shows the breadth of coercive control and how it affects the person too. And then the second one is something that now I can't think of the name of it, but it's something that talks about how to look at how to healing. So it kind of can go along with that. And then I will say, if you just want to know more about it, it's a good book, and especially looking at why do we have so much violence? Why do we have so much repression in our societies? So it will have some things to say about that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, awareness is key, isn't it? So even like what you said, even if you don't feel yourself to be requiring that, awareness is key, and you never know, by you adopting that knowledge and that understanding of how much you could support and help another or recommend to another. So you might watch this and someone comes to your mind, reach out to them. You don't have to say, oh, I think this is for you. You could just say, oh, I watched this podcast. I think you'd like give it a go, maybe have a listen. There's lots of ways that we can always not only just think of ourselves but others and just make the world a better place. With that in mind, it doesn't have to be on the topic that we've spoke about. It could be anything that comes to your mind, but if there's one thing that you feel like someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
First of all, I would say you are not alone, and everyone has worth and dignity. Don't pay attention to people who tell you otherwise. But another really important thing is isolation is an abuser's best friend. So if you are isolated, please, and I know it can be very difficult to reach out, particularly if you don't have supportive family. But, if you've become very isolated because of what has happened, look for ways to not isolate yourself and build a team of friends, professionals, whatever it takes. And sometimes it's a therapist or some other professional that is the first person that does, whether it's a doctor. But just know that. And sometimes we pull away from people because we're embarrassed to have anybody know about that. So that's another way in which we. So really, really look for those people that who will understand, who will support you, and if one person doesn't, go to the next. Don't give up.
Absolutely. Really wise words, Jennifer. And I think actually, in the sense of using your voice that might be too much for you, or you're in an environment where you feel like you can't be on the phone or things like that, you can send a message like to this beautiful woman here who's going to have her details. You can send a message that's safe, that's easy. You can even delete it afterwards. And there's lots of ways that we can have beautiful, loving people like Jennifer and many others to really just be that pillar sometimes. Not to say right or wrong, because no one is living a perfect life, but just to be that support system. And you never know, by how reaching out to someone, your life could really change. So thank you.
And I will say that on my website, there is a resource page for survivors, so they would find some links in there they might find helpful.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate your time today.